Welcome to the Chop Shop. Yours truly, Jim Hicks. Robert Haller's in transit for his baby Friday. So much going on. Want to welcome you guys. Let's end this thing on a superb note, and that is on the Chop Shop today. Got a lot to catch up with you guys. I'm going to open the phone lines. I plan to open the phone lines later on. I'm looking. And you guys, of course, meanwhile, any questions you have, and just to give you guys, get you on board. There's so many new Chop Shop viewers that are watching. A lot of people that are watching, sometimes they don't let you know they're watching. Meaning they're watching and you really don't see them. They're invisible. They don't go on the counters. So here's what will give a shout to them. This is how this go. We're streaming simultaneously on YouTube and Facebook right now. Make sure you guys can hear me. Make sure there's no echoing before we get this conversation going. This is the best 120 minutes of your day, your midday sports happy hour. Once again, I'm going to crank this thing up. We're going to cover a few topics. Educate a lot of people on some things, and push, and hopefully some people can take heed. We're going also with touch base on some Rucker on Wood stuff, some stuff that's coming up, upcoming events, and then one of the topics that's brewing, of course, right now is, and I didn't think that KP would have his comment, I guess, he felt some type of way on a certain day, and you see it, but then some people are feeling it. And here's what I mean. And this is a comment from, trying to get the source, the SZN brand, off-season brand, and this is a spin or a spin-off or a continuance of the conversation from Kendrick Perkins. I call KP. KP said, of course, last week that basically, I paraphrased, that regular public schools is not the effing answer anymore, meaning that the basketball factories are attracting, magnetizing all of the talent from those schools, those public schools. And you have, Nike has an EYBL Scholastic League, and what that has done is basically it gives them another option to get and attract certain players that they didn't get during the grassroots season. Nike can get those guys at their scholastic season. As long as we got them in our product, that's the first layer. And towards forging the needed relationship, if that player pans out, then, and he becomes the one, and they've already laid most of the groundwork. And that's kind of like how this thing goes. You invest millions into the communities through the grassroots. That's why they call it grassroots. Think about it, a yard, the roots of the grass. And some grass in certain cities is higher. Some are cut in, but the grassroots, that's the term, how that slang became for summer basketball. For many of people still inappropriately or unintentionally or ignorantly referred to as AAU. That's a whole nother topic. But, and we get into that later on, make a footnote, AAU defined for you guys later. But this comment that I was reading and explaining to you guys from the Off SZN brand on the IG account. It says, did prep schools just kill the 2025 Illinois high school basketball season? Thank you. Thaddeus Moody sent me this one. And because the topic is hot. And he says, this guy, right, Effie, he says, I'm reading this. Hold on. I lost it. He said, although Illinois still has some phenomenal basketball players, the state has lost several of its most talented stars. Several of its most talented stars to prep schools heading into this season. We ain't talking about over the past 2-3 years. Several just in going into this season from the state of Illinois. Their absence means a loss of exposure, key matchups, and much of the hype and excitement fans were anticipating. This isn't to take away from the players and the programs that will still be competing, but when the stars are gone, you can feel it. What do you guys think about that? Let that soak in. What do you guys think about that? When the stars are gone, you can feel it. Are you feeling it in your city, where you are right now? And I want to give a shout out to, as I just take out this time to go into the starting five, I'm going to ask you guys, please, if you wouldn't mind sharing the show. Share the show real quick. I'm doing the same thing. Let's get the shares on and get this conversation going. Meanwhile, starting five, of course, Thaddeus Moody from Chicago is in the house. Daryl Anderson is in Cozumel, Mexico, in the house. Brandon Wheatfall, shout out to you, buddy. Big Coach, and of course, Robert Young. Shout out to all you guys. That's my starting five on this Baby Friday. I see Jeffrey Day is in there with us. He's in the classroom with them little nappy-headed kids, probably with no cell phones. They probably, I wonder how's that going so far. Because everybody felt like the world was going to come to an end with no cell phones in the classrooms. The fear of the unknown for some of these new parents. And how's that going on? Where's the tragic situations? Where's the, of course now, the law of averages is going to be a time. But the teachers have been instructed on how. That's why in the back in the days, we had fire drills. They have different types of drills, gun drills nowadays. It ain't just fire drills no more. That's all we were worried about back in the days. And you would go through the motions. But get back on track on this basketball stuff. Personally, I think this is the new now. With the basketball factories attracting away the top players. But as I said the other day, the numbers aren't there. The numbers there's 8 in a rotation, and you multiply that times the basketball factories. They're going to recruit 10 to 12 to play 8 on a consistent level. Right? And somebody's going to be the odd guy out. And that odd guy is going to probably leave there. Either go back home to the public school route. B, try to latch on another basketball factory. And the wheel's going to keep on turning. This is the new now. It's where we are right now. And it's one of those things, it's not going back anytime soon, because Now what it does, it enables, when you're watching some of these matchups moving forward in the school from the basketball factories, it's not like John Doe versus Joe Blow. Now it ain't just Lionel Richie versus Frankie Beverly. It's going to be Lionel Richie and the Commodores versus Frankie Beverly and Mays. That's the new now. So now the television, the broadcast is going to they're going to seek to get more bang for their buck. However, what it also could mean is that there's a guy of a player, if he gets pissed off with his experience with the Nike EYBL Scholastic, does it now makes it better for those other opposing sneaker brands? It makes it easier for them to get them from the fall in the net. You get the disgruntled one. You know what? I'm mad. You know what? They ain't treat me right. Or they ain't show me enough love. So then that's what that could mean for the other sneaker lines. They just sit there. They just sit there, just waiting on you to fall off the tightrope right into their net. Something to think about. Jeffrey Day, he says the elementary school doesn't have that policy about the cell phones. Okay, cool. You know one thing, them little kids in elementary school, them the ones you gotta watch. And somebody asked, is Xavier Academy a special needs program? Elaborate, big coach. I'm not, and I'm going to post and address all of you guys' questions, as many as I can. You posting them out there. It's great you getting them out. Let's get this thing rolling. And I need you to elaborate. I don't understand what you mean. If the academy a special needs program, before I can address that. And once again, want to welcome everybody into the Chop Shop, and want to go back and recap, of course, in case you missed, Doug Jones did put his Doug's Dozen out, right, for the Rucker on Wood the other day. And if you guys missed that, the Rucker on Wood, with Doug, and I help share that with you guys from the class of 2026. Now, I gave you some guys, the senior class. I'm just going to get this out the way real quick and give you guys an opportunity to, matter of fact, here's what we can do. No, I ain't got time to do that. We're going to, class of 2026. They're my seniors. There we go. I'm looking at my paper. I'm going to see what Doug had in comparison to what I had. Here's what Doug got. Doug has Aiden Patterson. He has 12 guys. They call it the Doug's Dozen. Right? That he saw that piqued his interest. Or that man, it's a lot of moving stuff going on. And you guys got to understand this. If a guy, and Doug was sitting in the middle of both courts. So he had, but if you were paying attention to court one, right? Understand this. Then chances are that you're more prone to miss some key things that might be happening on court two. And if you're paying attention to court two, then it's very likely that you can miss some key things that if you're paying attention to court two and I'm paying attention to court one, we both are going to have different players that's going to, at the end of the day, because you're paying attention this way, and we may sway and go vice versa. But a lot of people, they think just because you're in the building, then you're paying attention. Just because you're in the building, that okay, you should have known, you should have saw this. Eventually, yes, but then the moment that a certain kid might have had, it ain't guaranteed if you got multiple cords. It ain't guaranteed. That's for that reason, it's why the videographers can come into play. Like Jeffrey Day, Ball So Hard TV could come into play. Archie Young, Forever Young Films, they can come into play because now they have the capability to, they're grasping an entire game on an entire court at a time. And you can go back and you can get that. So that's why it's important. And so Aiden Patterson from LaPorte High School, Brian Dixon DeBro from Galveston O'Connell. Brian Dixon DeBro, that's number 96. I have him circled on mine. Now, Bryce Rockamore, I have him circled on mine. Number 37 from Hightower High School. How about Kanan Idris? Right? He's from IL, Texas, Katy West Park. Mr. Kedris. I'm sorry, Mr. Idris. I'm sorry, I said Kedris. Mr. Idris is one of the Doug's dozen. Casey Sayers, Syers, from Clear Springs High School. Casey Sayers. Casey is about 6 foot tall, and he's a senior. And Clear Springs has arguably one of the most productive sophomores in the state of Texas, the guards from last season. That's Madden Hill. So Clear Springs is now, if Madden Hill can keep continuing to improve upon his spectacular freshman season, then that means he has the capability, as good as, even though he's a 10th grader, to drastically increase the odds of Casey Sayers in his college in his college recruiting efforts, to increase his stock, because more teams will be concentrating on doubling, tripling, throwing candy defenses or whatever they got to do to stop young Madden Hill. And there's no disrespect, Mr. Casey Sayers, but that's how it goes. You benefits off that. And it can change your life. All you got to do is just keep being Robin to Batman, and in times of need becomes reverse the roles and you be Batman to the Robin. Next up, Christian Zayed. We talked about him the other day. He's definitely circled on my list. Big Country. 2 sports star, Katy Tompkins High School, about 6'6". I like the fact that he brought the funk. He was ready to bang, and I get it and I understand it now because he's a football star as well. So this little contact on the basketball court against some 215-pound, 185-pound counterpart, that ain't nothing to him. So shout out to Christian Zayed. Next up, Devon Vineau, Vinneau, from Onalaska High School. Onalaska is up north, going toward up there like Livingston, up north, going northeast, about an hour outside of Houston. Humble. They drove down to get some burn. At least 3 players from that high school came down. Shout out to all of them, man, for coming and getting some run. I likes that. And what we're doing, if you just tune into the Chop Shop, we're going over the Rucker on Wood Seniors Doug's Dozen that was posted in the VIP news on RCS Sports yesterday. So it's a day old donut. I can share it with you guys now. Next up, Fola Sodipu. He's also from Katy Tompkins High School. I have him circled on my paper as well. Big Fola, wore number 85. Amen. They have a little small twin towers over at Katy Tompkins. I'm saying right now, best front court in the district right now. Now, we don't know what their guard's going to bring. Somebody got to give them the ball. Ain't no front court better than that front court right now at Katy Tompkins. In that Katy ISD district, there's no front court better than that front court this season coming up. So the X is on their backs. That means the guards, you got two jobs: protect the ball and get it to one of those. Get it to Big Christian Zayed or for Fola Sodipo. That's all you got to do. And guess what? You can lead the city in assists. Next up, Jacob Rossner from Tomball Memorial High School. Jacob Rossner, right? And Jacob also is a guard by 6'1". And you look on my page. I remember him too. I like him. I like Jacob Rossner. Wore number 69. Right? Got him circled on my paper. Jaden Haber or Heber. Now, some people know where you from. He's from Brenham High School. Jacob, hey man, drove all the way down. He's about 6'2". His team was on the championship. They won the championship of this. And it's Jaden Haber. And he wore number 28. Josiah Goree from Beaumont United High School. Josiah Goree. And Josiah was also on that championship team. Right? And that's team number 4. He wore number 46. And last but not least, on Doug's Dozen, 12 players who stood out according to Doug's Jones at Rucker on Wood. Shia Francis. Shia Francis from Second Baptist School. Shia is committed to Navy. He's a Division I prospect, and he shut it down early. Right at the end of July, he said, I'm not going to play around with this stuff. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm gone. And he committed to Navy. And guess what? I applaud this young man for coming out and get some good burn. His team made it to the championship. They fell short, came in second place at Ruck on Wood. But there's no doubting this young man, Shia Francis. So now, speaking of a 12th grader, that's an underclassman. It has all of the notoriety or the attention going into this season. He's in the backcourt, Francis that is, with Reese Austin over at Second Baptist. So those are the 12 from the Doug's Dozen from Rucker on Wood. I applaud all them young men, man. And once again, and we're still talking about Rucker on Wood 5 days later after everybody showed up and showed out. And we look forward to this thing takes place once a year. Once a year. Next year, it'll be I think the 30th, the 23rd and the 30th, I want to say. Those are the last two Sundays of August. So you make your plan right now. Guys that were underclassmen, you had fun. Let's run it back. And so now we get back to some of the questions that you guys have. Shout out to Eric Harrison. I see you out there, buddy. What's going on, Mr. Harrison? And G-Day says, I've been hearing that Adidas is trying to do a Scholastic League in the near future. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they really have little choice, because Nike has expanded their scholastic league now. The EYBL Scholastic League. They have incorporated more teams. And if that means you're attracting players that start on other platforms. That's it works both ways. They say, well, man, okay, I did this platform in the summer. Yeah, man, look what I got to play against in district play. Look what I got to, I don't get to travel. I got to do all this and all these rules in Texas, and they got NIL over in this state, and that I can go and at least try to, and I can concentrate and focus more on my development rather than 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day. At the public school, I got to change clothes, undress, change clothes again, do all this work. Now I can save time and keep from getting bored. For some players, they're just too doggone talented for what they have to play against. And I get that. For others, we're talking about the 1%ers, guys. We're not talking about the masses. For the masses, public school or the traditional private schools is where you're going to be at, because the numbers aren't built for everybody to go to those basketball factories. Big Coach asked a question earlier. You guys tune in. He says, is Xavier Academy a special needs program? And I asked him to elaborate. And this is his response. He says, I would assume that meant to say a parent removed her child from Xavier because she said it was a special education academy and it messed up her son's grades on his transcript. I'm asking if it was a special ed school. I don't know, but I can find out for you. Let me write me a note. Xavier. I'm gonna check it out and remind me, Big Coach. I'm writing myself a note. Special ed ? So I check over that and confirm it over the weekend. Remember, these are just questions, guys. Next up, we have G-Day says, talking about Katie Tompkins, they have a 6'7" kid named Carter Shipman. And he wasn't there. He said he's the best of them all of them. He's better than those other two. But guess what? Carter Shipman should have been there. Where was he at on Sunday? He didn't want to. His teammates was there. Man, Katie Tompkins. Man. I missed the boat on Katie Tompkins. But how good is the Katie Tompkins football team going to be this year? Because I know Big Christian Zayed is on the football field. If they're gonna, are they a playoff? Expected to be a playoff contender in that district this year for football? I'm curious. Eric Harrison says, Ruck on Wood makes me feel like I'm at home in Chicago. Say awesome job. Thanks a bunch, Mr. Harrison. It's a lot of work that goes into Ruck on Wood. A lot of moving parts, man. Lots of moving parts on Ruck on Wood and to make it happen. His stuff is going so fast. Now, we have a response to Big Coach, to your secondhand information from the parent about removing a kid. G-Day says, could it be that her son needs to take resource classes and maybe they don't offer that? Could that be the case? That's just a question he's posing out there. And I'm looking right now. And I got so much to give you guys. And so that's the take on that. Speaking of, the Super 16 extravaganza is going to take place October the 3rd through the 5th at the Den Sports Complex out in Cypress at the Den. Friday evening, Saturday, then action resumes on Sunday after Sunday morning. That's that. You think you're talking about good stuff. The energy is overwhelming at the Super 16 extravaganza. It's the only fall ball tournament in the entire state. Do you guys know that? Unless there's another one starting up, and I understand why, and I'll tell you why in a second. But this event is basically gives everybody a sneak peek at the potential of many of the invited teams from around the area that comes in and play. Now, this year we let a team in from out of town into the tournament division. It's not the first time that has happened. If you guys remember, about maybe 10 years ago, there was a team from Atlanta, Georgia, drove all the way to the Super 16 in Houston with 2 7-footers. Prep school. 2 7-footers came out the bus. Everybody stopped, man, and them trees got chopped down like you wouldn't believe. I think they went 1 and 2, maybe 1 and 3, and was back on that bus on the way back to Georgia. Remember, one thing about this, and remember that, and since then we've established a rule for schools that coaches, your regular high school coach isn't allowed on the bench at the Super 16, because that's the mandated rule for the public schools and for the traditional private schools. So therefore, if you are a school outside of those platforms, the confines of those governing bodies, we no longer let the coaches sit on the bench. So in good vision play, no coach that sits on the bench can coach good vision in the tournament portion. And that's our house rule that levels it off. Otherwise, that's not a level playing field. First of all, you got guys from all over that's not zoned to you. First of all, you get to practice unlimited hours if you wish. You get to practice unlimited days if you wish. And then they can't have they meaning your opponent can't have their coach on the bench, but you can't. No, it's not fair. It's unfair. I know favor ain't fair. No, life ain't fair. But that's unfair. So that we try to fair it up a little bit. At the top of the hour. Oh, first, let me get something out the way. I said earlier, I define AAU for you guys. Let me get that out the way. AAU versus grassroots versus summer ball. AAU is a governing body, the Amateur Athletic Union. I know I used to be the co-chair for the Gulf Association of the AAU for boys basketball. So I'm very familiar with the AAU. However, at one particular time, many people that engaged in grassroots basketball or summer basketball many of those teams would eventually strive to go and qualify for AAU nationals. So a lot of times, all the basketball events, many of them, and AAU has different sports, but many of those teams, as they go into AAU, so they would simply, where you going? You're going to play in at AAU. So over the years, people would call it, they would describe it, it would use AAU as an adjective, as well as a noun or a direct object. So it would be the same. So people would use it as, for example, those that drink soda, depending on what part of the country you're in, soda water, cold drink, right? And then some people call them Coke. I'm gonna get me a Coke back in the days, but they really would come back with a strawberry. But they bundled it. I'm gonna get me a Coke, man. Now, not so much nowadays, but they'll specify. But back in the days, that's how people used to refer. So the people where I come from, many of them refer to a fountain drink or soda water or whatever. I'm gonna give me a Coke. So it's kind of similar with the AAU. Everything is AAU is not grassroots. Well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say that back. Reel that back in. Everything that's grassroots is not AAU. Technically. I get what so many of you say in the sense of giving AAU free advertising. And that's basically what you're doing, because AAU, remember we've had the chair of the AAU nationally on the Chop Shop a few years back to elaborate on that topic, that very topic before. And because I asked him, I posed him, I put him feet to the fire. Why don't y'all say nothing when people, to basically let people understand, hey man, this ain't us. Well, that's free advertising. Why would they tell national networks to not say AAU? Now, when something bad goes on, AAU has never failed to send out a memo or a letter or post something to let people know and to educate you. Hey, that event was not AAU. We are this and we are that. Go to our website and join for next year. Right?